This episode is brought to you with Primed Mind, my mindset coaching app. It can help you in many areas of your life, such as preparing for work, exams, relationships, communication skills, and confidence. Download the app at agameadvantage.com/primed.
Those who live a high-performance life have figured out how to consistently bring their best, their A game, to the most important areas of life. On the A Game Advantage podcast, you'll get to peek inside the mind of the world's highest-performing individuals so you can learn and model the mindsets and systems that allow them to bring their A game every day. With your host, Elliot Roe.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Elliot Roe. I hope you've been enjoying the episodes, and I've had a number of listeners since we launched send messages through asking what it is I've been doing with these top performers and how really I work with them on their mindset. And I felt today would be a good idea for us to do a show explaining the work I do, demonstrating the importance of mindset, and then showing the potential you have to make those changes and reach your A game, your top performance. So the first thing to sort of really point out, I guess, is that even the best in the world find themselves usually in some part of life or another holding themselves back from their absolute optimal performance. And obviously, when it's the best in the world, that's something where it's usually fine-tuning. So they're noticing a slight weakness that they're looking to adjust. And as you get sort of further back in the crowd, those issues can be more substantial. So bigger levels of self-sabotage on the day of the big event, higher levels of anxiety, those sorts of things. And it's my job to really help people understand the self-sabotage that they have or any anxieties they have, and then work through that so that those issues don't trigger them in the same way any longer. Now, my sort of adventure into mindset started some time ago. It was completely random. I had a fear of flying and I was refusing to get on long-haul flights. I had options for holidays around the world and such, and I was just choosing not to do it because I was so uncomfortable with the thought of the flight. And even when I would do short-haul holidays, when I was on the holiday, I'd be feeling anxious about having to fly home and it would ruin the holiday for me. And a friend recommended a hypnotherapist, and I was pretty skeptical about trying hypnotherapy to solve the issue. But what happened actually sort of blew me away. I went to her and we went through this, I guess, guided meditation process. I became very relaxed. And then she started bringing up memories from my past around where this fear could have originated from. And as we were going through those memories of my past, a memory came up about being at my granddad's house and seeing a picture of a plane and being told that the plane had crashed and killed some of his business partners. And I was around sort of a toddler at the time. And she sort of hit that memory and it seemed to spike some emotion inside of me. And then she reframed it for me so that I was seeing it in a different way. And then after the session, I just wasn't concerned with flying anymore. And that was crazy to me. For someone who had had fear of flying all of my life, to walk out of an office and just feel like I could book a flight with no anxiety. So that was huge. But what was even more interesting to me was that I didn't actually remember the memory prior to going into that office. And I went home and called my mum, spoke to my mum, and found out that, yes, that did happen. It was a real memory that had been brought up, and it was something I wasn't consciously aware of. And that was pretty surprising to me. And it really showed me there was something going on that I didn't fully understand, and I really wanted to understand. So then I went on flights and I felt fine. And because of that, I decided to get trained up as a hypnotherapist. Initially, I wasn't expecting it to be a career. I was expecting to just help friends and family and really just have some, good stories to tell. And I went through the course. I thoroughly enjoyed it and started working with clients and really found that by using this process, you could make massive difference to people's lives. And, I'd be helping people with anxiety issues, with fears, with weight loss, those sorts of things. And then I started helping people with performance in golf. And I was seeing guys improve their scores just by working through emotional issues that they were struggling with on the golf course. And that then led me to work with performers in other industries. And I started working with professional poker players. And I started working with UFC fighters and all the way up to Olympians and CEOs and Wall Street traders. And there's sort of a theme that I noticed with all of these people, even the very top performers in the world, people making millions of dollars. And that's that there was almost always something they were aware of that was holding them back that they couldn't quite explain, which once we managed to work through and resolve that issue, their performance dramatically improved. So, I mean, if you're out there at the moment thinking through this, try and think of something in your life where you know there's some sort of resistance to you doing what you know is right. So maybe you're struggling with communication in a relationship, or maybe there are issues at work. Maybe your performance in a particular sport or activity isn't what it should be when you're under pressure. And have a think about what that feels like. So what the feeling is like that's holding you back. Oftentimes it gets described to me as like an invisible force field that's just stopping someone reach their potential. And that's there for a reason. So at some point that was a learnt behavior. That's a learnt program you've created in your mind because someone's told you that you're not good enough and you've believed them, or you don't personally believe you deserve the success, or you're scared of the success in case it changes your life. So there's all sorts of reasons the subconscious can come up with. And the work I do is really just working through those different subconscious issues, reframing the memories so that when those trigger events come up again, it doesn't have the same resistance there holding you back as before. And that has been a very powerful tool I've seen. Certainly the success I've seen with a lot of these top performers, as you've heard in some of the episodes, and you'll hear in future episodes as well, has been quite extreme. I've seen poker players such as Fedor. He hadn't won a high roller event prior to us working together, and he went on one of the largest winning streaks in poker history, if not the largest winning streak, and has now cashed over $24 million. Other people I've seen reach UFC championship belts, people get into the Olympics, traders turn around their trading. It's been quite an incredible process to watch. And what's interesting is it's relatively simplistic. And it's simplistic because the subconscious is aware of what the issue is. Otherwise, the issue wouldn't be there. When we go into that guided meditation state and I start asking, what does that feel like? Where's that emotion coming from? Your subconscious already knows. Because if it didn't know, the issue wouldn't be there. So these memories just start coming out very quickly of there's this issue and this issue and this issue. And they're often quite clearly related to the problem, relatively obvious as I hear these memories explained. And then just by reframing and changing the way the client looks at those memories, their relationship to the memory changes. So instead of being a large fear response, it's something that they can cope with. It's something that is now just a memory, just like the memory of what they had for breakfast, rather than the memory of an event that has changed the way they run their life and look at life moving forward. I just wanted to sort of make it clear the sort of work I do with clients. So that's the first half. And then as I work through those mindset issues in the past, I then start to work through the sort of visualization for performance. So let's say it's an athlete, we would be working through these background issues, and then we would start using the hypnotherapy to visualize the performance so that they're prepared for the different outcomes, the different situations that can come up that might have previously thrown them off their A game. So let's say it's a footballer and he has to deal with a situation where he's just missed a penalty and he has to then be able to still play his best moving forward from that part. Or a poker player who suffered a bad beat at a final table of an event. Perhaps there's a rugby player who's been put in the sin bin and he's been off the pitch for 10 minutes and he has to come back on and still perform at his best. They're the sort of visualizations that we're working through so that if the worst case scenario happens, they're free to perform at their absolute best from that moment moving forward in the game or, even in the trade if it's one of the Wall Street traders I work with. So there's just a little bit of a background information in terms of hypnotherapy and mindset coaching and why top performers choose to work with me. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then have a think. I mean, the reality is that the majority of people that I'm working with are sort of top 100 in the world, and they're looking to become top 10, or they're top 10, 15 in the world at whatever they're doing, and they're looking to reach number one. And if that's where you are currently, so in the sport that you play, in your business, then head over to my website, elliotroe.com, and you can just fill out an application and we can talk and see if it's the right thing for you to invest in and see if it's going to offer you the sort of return that you would want from it. And if you're not at that sort of level and you're just looking to make changes in your life, then that's what I made this podcast for. The reality is I only have so many hours in the week. There are only so many people that I can work with and help. So I wanted to make this A Game Advantage podcast to try and inspire people to work on their mindset and start to model the behavior of these people who've reached the top of whatever industry it is that we're talking to that week, so that they can really just start to see that level of success and make those changes. I would also highly recommend, if you really feel there are these things holding you back, but you don't think you're quite ready to be working with me yet, then I would say seek out someone in your own area. So a performance coach, a hypnotherapist, if you believe it's an emotional issue or an anxiety issue holding you back, and have a talk with them and see how it can help. I've seen quite extraordinary change, and I felt quite extraordinary change, which is why I'm even in the industry in the first place. And I have a belief that anyone can improve their life if they invest the time that they need to and the effort that they need to in improving their mindset. The reality is that we basically create our own realities in our mind. You know, the emotions of whether we're feeling happy or sad or angry, any of those things are just being created by ourselves at any moment. And if you're feeling out of control, or you're feeling that you're not able to perform at your best, or that you don't deserve success, or anything around those points, it really is worth investing some time and also some money in talking to a professional who can help you through that, because the investment will pay off again and again if you make that change in the background and you no longer have these barriers holding you back. So I hope that starts to explain the work that I do, and you have a bit of a clearer picture now of what hypnotherapy is. It's not the swinging watch, and it's not the stage show where people are doing crazy things. The hypnotherapy work for high performance is really just like a guided meditation. You get very relaxed like you would in normal meditation, but then instead of a clear mind when you reach the very relaxed state, the trance state, which you would do if you were doing Headspace or another meditation app, instead we're looking for a very focused mind to help you work through your issues and understand your issues in a way that you wouldn't understand them if you were just trying to think through them on your own. Again, if that's something that sounds interesting to you and you think may have a good impact on your life, check out elliotroe.com. And if, as I say, it's not the right moment, please just keep listening to the podcast. We've got some amazing guests coming up. As you hear their tips and as you hear about the way they're living their lives, please just give it a try, make some of the changes. Have a look at your goal setting, like Fedor spoke about, or have a look at the way that, Brendan was speaking about in high performance habits, of the different habits of the highest performers in the world, or with James talking about the importance of mindset in any kind of professional level gambling that can be done. Take the little tips that are relevant for you and your life and your work and relationships and see if they make a change, because that's why I'm putting in this effort. That's what we're here for. Just a shorter episode today. I hope you all found the information useful. And if anyone has any questions, always feel free to reach out, and we'll be back with another guest next week. I shall talk to you soon.